We're turning the welcome mat over today to Jeff Paterson, Canucks reporter, one half of the rink-wide duo with Andrew Wadden, because Jeff not only had a epic journey, a Lord of the Rings style journey to Abbey Center last night, he also took in a thrilling victory for the baby Canucks, who stay alive in the AHL's Calder Cup playoffs. Jeff, how you doing?
Oh, it's an honor. I get the welcome mat. It's not architecture. It's more like finger painting.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. So paint us a picture with your brush or fingers, whatever you like, about what you saw last night.
Just saying,
I had time in my vehicle to do a Da Vinci or something.
Still life.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, still life.
Yeah. Michelangelo.
Yeah. Look, people had it worse than I did. Apparently there was quite an accident somewhere along the highway, but by the time I got to wherever the supposed accident was, it had been cleared, which gives you a sense of just how far the backlog was. So I got a lot of people giving me all sorts of instructions about the next time, the back roads of Langley and Aldergrove.
Right.
You know, that's not my neighborhood. I would get lost. I would drive in circles, and I would have missed the game entirely. I got there. I missed the opening faceoff. I missed the first goal. The Calgary Wranglers scored, but saw the bulk of the hockey game and saw the important parts, and that was the 3 Abbotsford goals and the victory, and got a taste of, the real excitement of playoff hockey, and I've forgotten about it. I think the last, true playoff hockey I had taken in person was the Vancouver Giants, a part of that run back in 2019 that led them to the Western Hockey League final. That's the LAC. That's 5,000. This is Abbotsford Center, and it was close to full. There were a few empty seats, as they thought there might be on a Wednesday night. I think now that they've pushed this to Friday night in the Fraser Valley, place will be hopping, and let's see if they can get it the distance now. The dynamics of a short series are so interesting that there was already the 2 games in Calgary and the potential of the 3 in Abbotsford, but also Abbotsford pushes Calgary in those first 2 games, loses in overtime, and that's tough, but they get a win, and all of a sudden, they're 1 win away from putting so much pressure on the top seed in these playoffs. So they've got to get it done on Friday again to extend the series, but they've got some life, and I think they can tell themselves, hey, push these Wranglers to overtime twice, and then get a win last night. They're right there. They're knocking on the door, and it was just fun. It was a fun night of hockey.
Unfortunately, some of the journeymen are stepping up, so that's quashing the opportunity for some of the Canucks prospects. Achiratu not even in the game last night, because guys like Kyle Rauer are going right now for the Vancouver Canucks, and such is life in the American Hockey League. You're not going to get the call each and every time, but there were some Canuck prospects that were in the lineup. They were pretty empty score lines for 2 of the prized ones, in Philip Johansson and Danila Klimovich. Did you see much of them? And the summaries that I saw did not have time on ice, but their stats lines were fairly empty. What did you see from Klimovich and Johansson?
Well, Klimovich had 1 shift in the third period, I think. And the 1 shift he had, he struggled to turn the puck over in his own zone and led to a bit of a scramble in front of Spencer Martin. So you're right. You would have loved this victory to have been on the backs of all of the Canuck prospects that we talk about, but that's not necessarily the case at this level. And Jeremy Colleton's going to go with the guys that he trusts, whether they are prize prospects or guys that are on AHL contracts. And so Kyle Rauer ends up getting the 3-1 goal that stands up as the game winner. Justin Dowling, who played a little bit for the big league Canucks, but doesn't really figure in their future, I don't think. But he's a really good pro through and through, and a veteran guy that played a lot down the stretch. I think for me, the takeaways, and I'll get back to Johansson in a sec, the fact that Archdeep Bains is out there protecting a 1-goal lead in the final 90 seconds, and the coach singled him out after the game for one of the plays that he made along the wall that ate up a ton of time and then eventually led to a clearing of the zone. That's impressive stuff. And you are drawn to him. I will say, that guy's work rate, his motor was going all night long. And
his PK, by the way, his PK work in Calgary was unbelievable.
Right,
so you wonder if there's something there.
I think there is something there. There are a lot of people around that rink that think this guy is going to play National Hockey League games. May not happen next season, but certainly is tracking in that direction. And I just thought, what a tip of the cap to a first-year professional out there in an elimination game trying to protect the lead. And there he is out there doing his thing. And also, it created some offense earlier in the hockey game, made a terrific play to set up Nils Höglander. Höglander's a fascinating study. I mean, we all know what he's capable of. He's all over the ice. A lot of his touches lead to offensive opportunities. Had a couple of assists last night, but then part of the storyline with Höglander has been all these penalties, the 6 of them in the first 2 games, 4 the other night, and in the box for the overtime winner. And in a 2-1 game late in the second period, everybody in the building, including both officials, watching him as he just whacks a Calgary guy across the back of the legs. Like, he got his money's worth out of the slash, but again, discipline, leadership, all those types of things. So the Canucks kill off Höglander's penalty. He steps out of the box and immediately goes to the front of the net and draws a penalty of his own. So things just happen around him at that level. I don't think it was his best night, but he's in on 2 of the 3 goals. And so, he is generating and he's creating there. For my money, guys, the best player on the ice last night, Noah Juulsen. And I don't even think it was close. If they ran ice time, I bet he played at least half of the third period. He just seemed to be out there every other shift. He finishes every single check, just eliminates guys. And Jeremy Colleton said after the game, one of his best skills is his ability to be that physical without taking penalties. He really knows how to play within the rules of the game, but still leave his mark on opponents and the game itself. And so I just thought Noah Juulsen was an absolute force. And I mentioned him because you asked about Philip Johansson, Blake. Look, this is, broad brushes against. It's my first look at him in person.
Yeah.
But it just looks like he's a mile away from the National Hockey League still. I thought he looked slight. I think based on his usage down the stretch, the team leaned basically on 4 defensemen, and Philip Johansson wasn't one of them. It's good to see Jet Wu out there late in games. We talked about Archdeep Bains, Wu, and Juulsen. 2 righties, but Wu plays over on the left side, but they used them an awful lot. I thought Jet Wu was pretty physical as well last night, mixing it up after a lot of the whistles and just keeping Calgary honest. But Philip Johansson, his defensive assignments a couple of times looked like he was lost out there, quite frankly, which is a little concerning. Now, again, new to North American ice, new surroundings, getting dropped into the AHL playoffs. I'll give him a little bit of slack. I'm not writing the book on Philip Johansson, but just based on first glance, I would say that there's some real work to do.
Big summer ahead.
Yeah, before, like so many in Rick Tockett's world, big summer. But yeah, I was a little underwhelmed by what I saw from Philip Johansson.
How did Spencer Martin look, Jeff? Because he was the first star by the AHL website, at the very least, and he was starting after Artur Silovs gets absolutely peppered in Game 2 in Calgary.
Yeah, they've rotated goaltenders for 20 games now, which is wild, and so you would think win and you're in elimination situations, but I don't know. Colin didn't let us know after the game what his plans are for Friday night, but he's got confidence in both those guys. I thought Spencer Martin was good early in the hockey game. Calgary had some chances. Obviously, they got the first one, and when you're down 1-0 in an elimination game, you can't afford to let in that next one, and he didn't. And so, he held the fourth then. Abbotsford was able to chip away, took a 2-1 lead in the second period, and then extended into the third. But moments before the Canucks got the 3-1 goal, Matthew Phillips, little buzzsaw, he was all over the ice as well. Had a clear-cut breakaway that would have made it 3-2 with a ton of time left in the third period, and Spencer Martin stared him down. I thought made his best save there. Now, the Wranglers did cut the lead and got it to 3-2. I didn't like the second Calgary goal, a slap shot from distance off the rush that looked stoppable. Easy for me to say, I know, but I didn't love the optics of that goal. But he gave up that one and didn't give up anything else. And credit to Martin and really the team in front. I thought the final 10 minutes, I thought it was really sturdy from Abbotsford. Like you would expect the Wranglers, the best team in the American Hockey League, loaded with offensive talent, some guys that touched the NHL this year. I expected more of a push, quite frankly. And I think some of that is credit to Abbotsford. I just thought they stood their ground. Jeremy Colleton got the guys out that he wanted, that he trusted, and they did the job. So Spencer Martin wasn't under siege in the final couple of moments or minutes of the hockey game, but he was up to the task. And so we'll see if it was enough to earn him another opportunity on Friday, or if this revolving door, this goaltender carousel, if you will, if it continues for the Abbotsford Canucks.
Another prospect down there is Salinas Carlson. He scores the game winner. What did you make of him?
Yeah, I liked his game. Opened the scoring for Calgary, or for Vancouver, I guess. Abbotsford tied the game at 1. But, it goes to the dirty areas of the ice. Like he's the net front presence on the power play, takes a beating in front of the net, and he seemed to be having some fun with it. And that's not easy to stand your ground, whether it's the NHL, the American Hockey League, but that's where you have to go.
Was that a redirect as he's cruising through the top of the crease? Did he tip it there? Yeah, I couldn't really see it from the camera angle.
But does a pretty nice job. Like, he's got good size, and so, he's kind of fit for that net front role. Like, if he gets to the National Hockey League, I don't know that we would see him net front on a power play, but at this level, that seems to be what they've tasked him with, and I thought did a really nice job of just standing his ground there and battling and presenting problems for Dustin Wolf, who obviously is a terrific goaltender for the Calgary organization. So, there wasn't a ton of flash to his game, but I didn't think there was a ton of flash to his game when I saw him at Young Stars or, through main training camp and the NHL preseason. He's just a guy that's a little more polished with some professional experience under his belt, and I think he was putting that to good use. So I noticed him certainly, but most of it was away from the puck. It was just a guy that was engaged and in the battle in the heat of playoff hockey in front of the net.
Guys, let me ask you both this. Do the Canucks have their 5-6-7 or 6-7-8 defensemen in Juulsen, Wolanin, and Hirose? Or rather than go to the market, do you think they've got enough confidence with those three guys?
Yeah, probably, in part because I'm not sure the cap space is going to allow them
That's
to
right.
go any
It's
further. But, I would add, I think they need a top four. But, yes, I think
what I mean,
6, 7, 8 are probably taken care of. Jeff?
Yeah, I wonder if just the internal economics are going to sort of force them to go down that path. Now, does that lead to much of an upgrade? As Matt said, I still think the wish list on Patrick Allvin's office down at Rogers Arena would be for a legitimate top four. And I know the name like Gavrikov has been thrown around there, but they just don't have the money to spend.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I wonder if that is the hope and the plan. And again, it's not much of a plan. It's a lot more hope. But that Thatcher Demko, a healthy Thatcher Demko, can come in there, do what he did down the stretch, mop up some of the mistakes if they're going to go that youthful and inexperienced route. Christian Wolanin, I thought, was, in the 16 games that he played this year, he certainly didn't look out of place. I think there had been a little bit of a readjustment for him. It didn't sound like he had been at the top of his game earlier in these playoffs. He got credited with a goal, a bit of a fortunate bounce, but they all count. But he's there to produce offense and generate offense, and certainly had his hand in a couple of the offensive plays for the Abbotsford Canucks last night. It was funny as well. She mentioned Jack Rathbone, just another guy that obviously gets a lot of attention in this market. Abbotsford had a 5-on-3. After Höglander stepped out of the penalty box and drew that penalty, then Calgary took another penalty cross-check on Salinas Carlson on the power play. So Abbotsford had a 5-on-3 for, I want to say, a minute and a half in the late stages of the second period, and Jack Rathbone hit post and then crossbar on successive shots. The second one, I think a lot of people thought had gone in. In fact, they stopped play and referees huddled up, and I don't know what kind of video they have access to, but somebody was watching something over in the penalty box. Puck didn't go in. They did have an overhead view that showed it didn't go in, but still, it was a 2-1 hockey game at that point. It looked like it was going to be a key situation. They did everything they could to generate good looks. They just didn't score. Sometimes it truly is a game of inches. And rather than, sagging because they didn't score, they went to the locker room and then they came out and scored to make it 3-1 in the first couple of minutes of the third period. So ultimately, it didn't cost them that they didn't convert on that 5-on-3. Certainly chances there, but unable to pull the trigger when the chips were down.
Blake, I'll do you one better. I think they not only have 6, 7, 8, they may have 9, 10, 11 covered as well with the guys we missed there. Breezebaugh, Rathbone, Johansson, and even Jed Wu has made a nice progress. But, of course, they're missing that top four guy. And, Jeff, this is where Olli Juolevi would have been, right? Like at this stage of the game now, Olli Juolevi would have been through his development and maturation if he had become everything that we had hoped he would become, and playing in that top four. Alas, he is not. Alas, they still need that piece on the left side. I'll ask you the Bodog poll question. I know you're not sore because you don't root, but every time you see Matthew Tkachuk, particularly in the Stanley Cup playoffs, do you think of Olli Juolevi and the opportunity missed?
I suppose by now I'm numb to it, but it's impossible not to look past. And it's not just Olli Juolevi. And look, we have spent countless hours talking about Jake Virtanen as well. But Jake Virtanen's 26. Olli Juolevi, I think, turns 25 tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And there was some talk about Olli Juolevi out in Abbotsford last night, because, of course, that's where it sort of ended for him in that one corner in particular after the bag skate. But, like, those are just two gaping holes that the Canucks have not been able to overcome. And I don't know that any team could, to swing with top 10 picks like that and completely whiff. And now you look at the holes that the Canucks have to address. You know, yes, even if Juolevi had just turned into a serviceable top 4 defenseman, we're talking about them going out into the market and trying to find somebody to play that exact role for them. So, yeah, I mean, just an incredible miss at the top of that draft. And then Virtanen, and look, again, this is water under the bridge, I get it, but when we're looking at roster construction for the big league team, a 26-year-old who should be, especially where he was drafted, in their top 6, you know, if Virtanen becomes anything close to the player that they wanted him to, they probably don't have to go and chase Connor Garland and spend the draft capital that they did. And, you know, I mean, we can play this game all day, obviously, but it's just when you look at the Vancouver Canucks, to have 2 of those high draft picks and to miss on both of them, of course, yes, they hit on Paterson and Hughes, but when you're picking at the top of the draft, you have to find players. You simply do. They didn't. And as a result, here they are all these years later, still spinning their wheels and chasing pieces of this puzzle that they have not been able to complete.